Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we will talk about market oriented cloud computing. As we all know, cloud computing is definitely at the top of technology trend. It is reaching its peak of expectations within very less time. A lot of cloud service providers like Amazon, Google, Salesforce, IBM, Microsoft, Sun Microsystems, they have begun to establish new data centers for hosting cloud computing applications. For example, some social networking, Facebook, gaming portals, business applications, media content delivery applications. So we can predict that cloud computing is soon going to be a part of mainstream computing. Using this computing, users can enhance their business. They can utilize a lot of IT services, and moreover they will pay only as per their usage. So before going to start with the market oriented cloud computing, we need to understand the term market. Market is actually a meeting or a meeting place, or it is a gathering together of people for purchase and sale of goods. Similarly, we have a market oriented cloud computing. Let's move on to this part. So market oriented cloud computing is the presence of virtual marketplace where there are consumers who are going to use the cloud computing service, and the traders, the service providers who are going to sell that technology. So this market is very dynamic in nature, and it has several components, like we have service consumers, we have service providers, other entities like brokers, auctioneers. So there lot of people are involved in this market oriented cloud computing. So whenever we talk about this global data exchange, how the communication is taken place when there is trade between the cloud service provider and the consumer. So there are several people involved. They can be brokers, they can be auctioneers, there can be bank for the financial activities. We have cloud storage, we have different types of clouds, we have IT consumers. So a lot of people negotiate with each other. There are bids, and at end of the day and at end of the task, the service provider will provide the service to the cloud if the service provider is getting profit, and the customer is also capable to arise their business. So, if we need to talk about this marketplace, what would be the major components of cloud exchange? The very first thing is directory. Directory is it is a market directory which will contain the listing of all the published service, all the services which are available for sale, and consumers can buy it from the marketplace. Then we would have auctioneers. The auctioneer is in charge of keeping track of running auctions into the marketplace. The auctioneers will verify the auctions of the services which are being conducted, and they will find out is there any illegal activities is being performed, कोई malicious activity तो नहीं हो रही. So they will keep a track of all the activities. Then for the financial aspect, because this is a virtual trade between the consumer and the service provider, so financial activities are going to be performed. So bank is a component which will take care of the financial aspect. If we talk about market oriented cloud architecture, there are users and users who are going to use the cloud service. Then there are brokers who are helping them to obtain that cloud service, and there would be a service level agreement resource allocator which will help us in order to achieve that particular service. So management is also necessary. So whenever the user will request for some service, there should be some management that it needs to be examined. It would be examined by the service request examiner and the admission controller, and whatever the services are being asked, they needs to be tackled by some some manager. And risk can arise also during this trade. Like risk, we need to also manage risk, because risks are always uncertain in nature and they can arise any time of the activity. So resources, we also need to manage resources as well. So basically, in cloud computing, what we do is we have physical machines. We convert those physical machines into virtual machines. Now, these virtual machines would be used as service by the consumers. So what we need to do is we need to also monitor these virtual machines, when the machines are available, when the machines are busy, when the machines are idle in or in sleep mode. So the dispatcher has some responsibility to dispatch these virtual machines to the client side, right? So there are several components which are involved into the cloud oriented architecture. If we talk about brokers, brokers are those people who will submit your request from anywhere in the world to the cloud. They will try to find out services for you. Then service level agreement resource allocator, it is an interface between the user and the cloud service provider, which enable all the resource management activities. Then service request examiner and admission control, it will interpret the submitted request and determine whether to accept this request or to reject this request, depending upon the resource availability. Next one is pricing. Obviously you are going to charge to the customers, so you need to make a bill of it. So however, whatever the resources are being utilized, depending upon the factors like the request time, what type of services being demanded, you will charge the bill. So to maintain all the pricing and the services which are being conducted, so what we need is we need to maintain the actual storage of resources by request, so that the final code can be charged by the users. Then we have virtual machine monitor, which will keep track of all the availability of virtual machines and their resources. The dispatcher will execute the admitted resources on the allocated machines, and the cloud request monitor will keep track on the request of execution of request in order to be tuned with the service level agreement. So all these components are the major parts of major part of market oriented cloud computing. And the main benefit of this offering, this cloud oriented market, is to support customer driven service management, depending upon the customer profiles and the requests they are being making, and to manage the risk, so that one can identify and manage the risk. Because what the customer need is, customer need a good service, what the service provider need is the real customers. So this is a strategy which will enhance the business growth. So that's it about